music conversations, it'll always be geared around social issues. Me and Ms. Vicky are very big on social issues and making a difference within the community to help share social issues as far as education, awareness, and empowerment. So that's all what Tunnel Vision is about. That is all what Divine Victory is about, ministries, which we're a part of, and making connections. And we'll share more about making connections. We're still unfolding how making connections is going to make a difference. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Vicky.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Yes, we are going into a segment where we want to talk about different authors' works and how they have a focus, different focus areas within, our thing is social issues. So the social issue that we're focusing on is domestic violence with this book. Domestic violence, advocacy, what else can we pull out of that as a social issue? Let's see. Reconciliation,
addiction,
forgiveness. What were you going to say?
I was just going to add addiction because it talks about the mother being an addict.
Yeah, that's a social issue. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Women, the struggles that women go through and the triumphs as well. This is domestic violence sometimes can appear to be a dark subject, but the way that Karen Kingsbury put that thing together, she draws you into the story, and you feel the hurt, the pain, but you also feel the victory as well. So right now, last week we started with the preface. Is it preface or prefix? Which one? I always get it mixed up.
Yeah, prefix. We'll go with that, and the introduction.
And so that's basically like the introduction, and then we also went through the first chapter. So we were going to review and then move on. And so just for those that may have not been on the show, listened to our show last week, like I said, it's about domestic violence. The book is dedicated to Mary Magdalene that is in the Bible. If you want to do research to find out who she is, you can look her up in the Bible. But she is a woman, the woman with the issue of blood. She's a woman that had a lot of issues. So the premise of the story is about women who are broken and gone through a lot. And it's the character in the story, they named her after Mary Magdalene, but they called her Mary. And so Mary is a woman who had a lot of issues. Mary Madison, she had a lot of issues in her childhood and coming up into adulthood, and she experienced a lot of things in the area of abuse, even to the point it even caused her to almost lose her mind and become mentally ill and things like that, want to commit suicide. So anyway, she recovered and became set free. She was no longer the victim. She became the victor. And she ended up going and becoming a social worker. She went to school, and, in order to be a social worker, you have to get a master's degree. So she went all the way to get a master's. And I'm making an inference, assumption, because that's what most social workers have, at least a bachelor's. And so,
well, can I intervene real quick?
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to add that because it says it in the book, that she got her doctorate. She got her doctorate.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? That's even better. Thank you.
And she was able to give back. She was able to give back to the community based on what happened to her. And as we're reading the book and sharing with you, we're going to also talk about how it relates to everyday life. So I just want to add this, and I'll let Ms. Vicky continue. So when we go back to the fact that she went through all this, and we're going to go into detail, we're going to go from chapter 1, intro, chapter 1, 2, and 3 today, and hopefully we can get through it all, just summarize it for you, and hope that you read the book. But also, when we go through things, whether it be a man or a woman or a child, I always like to say, never let your situation define who you are. And usually when I say that, most of the time, is because of my own situation as a person with a disability. So in this situation, it was domestic violence and what she went through. And she went through a lot. I was about to cuss, but she went through a lot. Once we revealed what she went through, you never would have known she survived. So I'm just putting it out there to anybody that's listening. No matter what you're going through, no matter what it is, you don't let it define you, and you never give up. And I don't know, Miss Vicki said it or not, but we just want to put out a disclaimer. This book is, we want you to focus on the book and the social issue. I don't know if I should say that. The book has a little bit of Christian, I don't want to say religion, because me and Vicki are not about religion. We're not about religion. We're about the foundation and having a God kind of life. So the book does have a little bit of that in it, but it's not the whole book. The whole book is about the social issues and talking about how she was set free and how her having a relationship with God helped her get through it. So that's what we want to share. So please stay with us and focus on the book, and don't be turned away about us talking to God. And then if you enjoy it by us talking to God, that is wonderful too. And we'd be willing to pray with you, talk to you as well, and you can email us. All right, Ms. Vicki, go ahead.
That's one thing I like about Karen Kingsbury. She is a Christian author, and she's a fictional writer. I think she wrote some nonfiction as well, but most of her writings that I know about and I think that she's done is fiction, and she's really good. And it's kind of like you have to really read into the book for some of her books to know that it's a Christian dialogue. It's like it's like
because it's not there right away.
Yeah. As a Christian, you're not supposed. Well, I don't want to be judgmental, and I don't want to say how somebody's supposed to, but my belief, I don't want to walk around looking like I have Christianity on my forehead. It's a lifestyle, and the characteristic of Christ is what should show up. So in her story, she shows the characteristic. She don't say Jesus in every line or every page. She might not even say it for a couple of chapters, if she say it at all. But I'm saying it's a characteristic that she's demonstrating in her story. And that's what I love about her, because she's so down to earth and practical. And anyone, whether you're a Christian or not, you should want, if you really know the characteristics of Christianity, not Christians that you've met, not Christians you see on TV. I'm talking about the true characteristics of Christianity. If you know what that is, then you would want that too. And it's basically morals, righteousness, integrity, all those type of things. So, and treating people kind, not being pushover, and not allowing somebody to bully you. But I'm saying, treating people right and living a righteous lifestyle, being legal,
and that's just
and then getting through the issues of life, like things that go on that show up that you don't want to go kill your whole family because of something. You have your because you're a Christian, you go to God with it. Some people, they might not be Christian. They go to their family or they go to the support system. But my point is that it's not detrimental. It's not something you're going to just take your life and take everybody's life or go and rob somebody and hurt people and all this kind of stuff. And it's a lot more things too, but that's not the story today. So getting back to, and I'm saying all that because I'm describing the type of writer that she is and how she does impact her readers. And so in this story, Karen Kingsbury.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Just real quick. In a nutshell, what Vicki just described, even though we're saying Christian Foundation because that's what we are, but for the most part, any spirituality, any type of spirituality that you have, for as far as I know, but
aside part, from devil worship,
yeah, thank you. We got to put that out there. Based on what I do know and what I see.
Some people that are atheists, so you can't.
Okay. Thank you for sharing.
But they have atheists.
Okay, yes. So we're talking about spirituality in a nutshell. I do believe, from what I see and heard and know and read, they for the most part follow what Ms. Vicky said. Just being kind to people, just having some kind of morals. The sky's the limit. For the most part, anything spirituality, you're gonna have that. So I just wanted to add that, because we don't want nobody to be freaking out saying we're talking about God. No, we're talking just in general.
Well,
okay, go ahead. So, go ahead.
To be honest with you, I'm not really tripping about that part. If I want to mention God, I'm going to mention it, but I'm just telling you that our show reach out to everybody. We're not just talking to Christians, and we're not trying to push our faith on you. It's a choice that you make on your own. But this is a really good author that everybody can benefit from. So getting back to what I was saying is that, the character Mary really displays herself in a good way in her community. Like, she uses her issue and her triumph to help her community. And so, she became in that political realm where she, was fighting for abstinence. And even in fighting for abstinence, she didn't just get up and open her mouth and fight for abstinence, just like somebody might be saying, oh, I want to fight for our rights. No, she proved it. She was like, had sat that and gave examples of how youth had made a choice to be abstinent, and then they came across situations where they made choices to not have sex as a minor, and it caused them to have less problems. Like, they had a better outcome than the ones that did. And she had cases where there were kids that did have sex at an early age, and their issues that came following, and then there were those that kept themselves, and how their life turned out a whole lot better. Like, even the choices that they made, because everybody knows when you have sex at a young age, it changes your whole thinking. You grow up, you start noticing things, like all these things start waking up. So if they kept themselves and they stayed their age, and then they were able to focus more on their studies. And so anyways, she did that for her community. Her community recognized her. Even the politicians recognized her because of her story of what she'd been through and how she overcame. And then she turned around also, and she had shelters. She owned a couple of shelters, I think 5 shelters in her community. And the shelter was domestic violence shelter. And from time to time, she had staff that would deal with the women. It was a domestic violence shelter for women. And women would come to the shelters, and she had a staff that would take care of them, the women. I counsel them and nurse them until, nurture them and everything until they're, in a safe place or whatever the case may be through the process. But there were certain women that would come, and she would recognize those women. And the way she recognized them is because they experienced the same thing that she did, or it was a similar situation, like she saw herself in them. So there were times where she would pull their file, and she would study their file and then meet with them person, do one-on-ones with them. And so there was a special case where she had did that with this one woman. So that's where we are now, where she's doing that counseling session.
Can I ask something before we go?
Yeah.
Because you're about to get into because we're about to get into chapter. I think it's chapter 2 now.
I'm still talking about chapter 1.
Okay. Well, let me add something that was in chapter 1 from the advocacy point. So I like the book regardless. I mean, all the way through. But it was certain things in there that I was able to relate to, and one of them was the advocacy part. So I just wanted to share about that part. When she, how can I say this? This is a teaching moment or a learning moment. If you didn't know, the reason why she had to go before the Senate is because she would every 3 years, one of her shelters would need funding. And funding usually comes about when you have a nonprofit. And the nonprofit helps the government. They're another layer of helping the community. So you need